Welcome back, Drifter. Today we journey through the serene tale of the Pegasus, the Griffin, and the Sphinx. Let the thrilling stories of this majestic beasts guide you into a state of calm, blending ancient myths with a carefully selected voice designed to help you fall asleep. You will have no problem relaxing, and if you haven't already, check out my channel for unique and authentic Greek mythology lore. Also, you should hit that subscribe button to be the first one to receive amazing mythology content. Pegasus, the immortal winged horse, emerged from the neck of the Gorgon Medusa after her beheading by Perseus. This incredible creature was not just any horse, but one with wings that allowed it to soar through the skies. Pegasus was not born in a simple way, for it came from the union between Poseidon and Medusa, a bond that was unusual in its form, with Poseidon having taken the shape of a horse or a bird to mate with the Gorgon. From this union, Medusa gave birth to two children, Chrysaor, a powerful warrior, and Pegasus, the winged steed who would later play a key role in many mythological events. When Perseus beheaded Medusa, Pegasus sprang from her neck, symbolizing the connection between the sea and the sky, with his wings representing the union of Poseidon's power over the waters and Medusa's mystic nature. After his birth, Pegasus became a symbol of both power and beauty, not only for his mighty wings, but also for his connection to both the heavens and the earth. Pegasus's first true connection with a mortal came when the hero Bellerophon tamed him to fight the fearsome fire-breathing monster, the Chimera. This creature, a combination of a lion, a goat, and a serpent, terrorized the land, and only a hero with extraordinary strength and courage could confront it. Bellerophon, after much hardship, consulted the soothsayer Polyidus, who advised him to spend a night in the temple of Athena. During his sleep, Athena appeared to him in a dream, presenting him with a golden bridle to tame Pegasus. When Bellerophon awoke, he found the bridle at his side, and upon using it, he caught Pegasus, and the horse drank from the well Perine. With the horse now under his control, Bellerophon mounted Pegasus and rode him into battle, eventually defeating the terrifying Chimera. But despite Bellerophon's triumph, his story did not end with victory. After defeating the monster, Bellerophon, intoxicated by his success, sought to rise to the heavens, hoping to join the gods in their realm. Riding Pegasus, he attempted to ascend Mount Olympus. However, Zeus, the king of the gods, disapproved of this audacious attempt. In a show of divine power, Zeus caused Pegasus to buck, throwing Bellerophon back down to the earth in disgrace. Pegasus, however, continued his journey into the heavens, where he found his place among the gods. He became Zeus's faithful steed, carrying the thunder and lightning of the god, his wings becoming synonymous with the storm and the power of Zeus's wrath. Pegasus's flight through the heavens solidified his status as a divine creature, one who had moved beyond the mortal realm to become part of the celestial order. Pegasus's legacy was further immortalized when he was placed in the sky as a constellation. This marking in the heavens ensured that his memory would never fade. The constellation of Pegasus, or Pegasus, became a symbol of the arrival of spring, a time when the earth was renewed and the storms of the season came to cleanse the world. In Greece, the rising of this constellation marked not only the arrival of the warmer months, but also the fierce thunderstorms that would roll through the land. These storms, with their dramatic flashes of lightning and thunder, echoed the power that Pegasus had once carried for Zeus, serving as a reminder of the divine forces that shaped the world. The name Pegasus is thought to have two meanings. One interpretation relates to the Greek word pege, meaning spring or source, which refers to the water sources near which Pegasus was believed to have appeared after his birth from Medusa's neck. The other interpretation comes from the word Pegaso, meaning to spring forth, which connects to the dramatic nature of Pegasus's birth, as he sprang forth from the Gorgon's neck in a miraculous and unexpected manner. This dual meaning reflects the horse's nature, both tied to the natural world, symbolized by the springs of Oceanus, and to the divine, as it was born of an extraordinary event and became a creature of the gods. In later myths, Pegasus became a figure of great importance, not just in battles, but in the realm of the gods as well. As the bearer of Zeus's thunderbolt, he played an integral part in maintaining the order of the heavens. He flew across the sky, his wings carrying the power of Zeus's storms and lightning to every corner of the world. His connection to Zeus marked him as a divine companion, one who bridged the gap between the gods and the mortal realm. The horse's power and grace were unmatched, and his role as the bearer of the thunderbolt made him a figure of awe and respect in the ancient world. Throughout history, Pegasus has been remembered as a creature of immense beauty and power, embodying the link between the divine and the mortal, the sea and the sky, and the forces of nature and the gods. His connection to the constellation that bears his name further solidifies his place in both mythology and the natural world, a testament to the lasting impact he has had on the legends of the ancient world. From his miraculous birth to his final place among the stars, Pegasus's story continues to inspire wonder and awe, a symbol of the might and mystery of the gods. The earth trembled beneath the weight of the moment as Pegasus, wild with fury, soared higher and higher, leaving behind the mortal world. His powerful wings beat against the wind, lifting him into the air. Whether it was fear that caused the rider to fall, or whether it was the sudden, unexpected bucking of Pegasus, infuriated by a gadfly sent by Zeus himself, it is not clear. What is certain, however, is that Pegasus did not stop. He continued his flight, unhindered by the struggles of the mortal who had dared to rise so high. His flight was a testament to his strength, his wings cutting through the skies with ease as he moved further from the earth and closer to the heavens. Zeus had always watched over Pegasus, ensuring that the horse would not remain too long in the realm of mortals. He had, after all, been born of Medusa's blood from the moment Perseus severed her head. It was from this extraordinary event that the mighty winged horse first came to be, and his power was undeniable. With the severing of Medusa's head, Pegasus was born, springing forth from her neck alongside Chrysaor, another creature of great strength. It was a miraculous birth, one that combined the forces of the sea and the heavens, as Poseidon had been the father of both Pegasus and Chrysaor. Pegasus, the divine steed, had the wings of the gods, and it was his fate to serve those higher than any mortal could ever aspire to reach. In the stories of his life, Pegasus became both a figure of power and beauty. His connection to the heavens only deepened after he was tamed by the hero Bellerophon. Together, they fought the terrifying Chimera, a monster with the body of a lion, the head of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. It was no easy task to tame such a fierce beast, but with Pegasus at his side, Bellerophon was able to achieve the impossible. Yet even after this victory, Pegasus's flight did not cease. His spirit was wild, untamed, and he continued to soar far above the world of men, beyond the reach of any mortal being. But while Pegasus continued his journey, his story did not end with simple battles or victories. The mighty steed sought to rise even higher, to join the gods themselves in their celestial domain. Riding upon his wings, Bellerophon attempted to ascend to the heavens, but this was an act that Zeus could not allow. The thunderbolt bearer was the god of the skies, and no mortal or creature was to challenge his authority over the heavens. Zeus sent a gadfly to sting Pegasus, angering the horse, causing him to buck the rider and send him crashing back to earth in disgrace. It was a humbling moment for Bellerophon, but one that did not diminish Pegasus's power. The horse, despite the fall, continued his flight into the heavens, where he became Zeus's own steed, carrying the thunder and lightning that the god would wield in his name. Pegasus now served the king of the gods, a position that placed him among the immortals, a creature both revered and feared for his power and grace. As time passed, Pegasus's legend only grew, and his place in the stars was forever secured. He was immortalized as a constellation, his image carved in the night sky for all to see. The rising of Pegasus marked the arrival of spring, the season of renewal and change, and with it came the seasonal thunderstorms that were a hallmark of the changing weather patterns. In ancient Greece, the sight of Pegasus rising in the sky was a symbol of the natural world, its power, and the unpredictable storms that were part of the Earth's cycles. His wings, still powerful and graceful, were a reminder of the connection between the earth and the heavens, between the mortal world and the divine. The name Pegasus has two possible meanings, both of which reflect his divine nature. The first meaning comes from the Greek word pege, which means spring or source, referring to the places where the horse was believed to have sprung forth from Medusa's blood, near the waters of Oceanus. The second meaning, Pegaso, refers to the idea of something springing forth in a burst of energy, much like how Pegasus was born in a miraculous moment when Perseus severed the Gorgon's head. In both meanings, Pegasus is tied to the natural world, to water and to the forces of nature that give life and power to the world around him. Beyond his battle with the Chimera and his flight to the heavens, Pegasus also played a role in the story of the Muses. He was not only the winged horse of heroes and gods, but also a source of inspiration for those who sought to create and to understand the mysteries of the world. When the Muses competed against the daughters of Pyrrhus on Mount Helicon, it was Pegasus who played a crucial role in the outcome. As the Muses sang, the earth stood still to listen, and even the heavens and the rivers paused in awe of their song. Yet it was Pegasus who stopped the rising of the mountain with a mighty kick of his hoof, and from that strike, the inspiring well of Hippocrene was born, a well that would come to symbolize the creative powers of the Muses. This well, and others like it, were believed to have been created by Pegasus's hooves, spreading across Greece and becoming sources of inspiration for poets, musicians, and artists alike. In later works, Pegasus was also associated with other inspiring wells, such as the one near Troezene and another near Corinth. The story of Pegasus's hoof striking the earth, bringing forth these wells, became a symbol of how the divine could touch the earth and give life to new ideas, new creations, and new possibilities. This connection between Pegasus and the Muses helped elevate the winged horse into a symbol of both power and intellectual inspiration. While he was initially known as a steed of war and a creature of the gods, in later times he became more closely associated with the arts, the pursuit of knowledge, and the search for beauty and truth. Throughout history, Pegasus was depicted in works of art, on coins, and in many forms, often alongside Athena and Bellerophon, as a symbol of divine favor, inspiration, and the power of the gods. His wings, always a sign of his connection to the heavens, made him one of the most recognizable figures in Greek mythology, a creature whose beauty and power transcended the limits of time and space. His story, from his birth to his place among the stars, remains one of the most enduring and captivating tales of the ancient world. From the blood of Medusa, the Gorgon, and Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea, sprang two remarkable beings. The first was Chrysaor, a man with a golden sword, and the second was Pegasus, the winged horse who would become a symbol of power and grace. This extraordinary birth occurred after Perseus, the hero of many feats, beheaded Medusa. As her blood spilled onto the earth, Pegasus, with his magnificent wings, and Chrysaor, the warrior with the golden blade, leapt from her neck, forever linking them to the strange and violent moment of Medusa's demise. The sight of Pegasus rising from her neck was a testament to the forces of nature and the gods that shaped the world, a miraculous event that defied the boundaries of life and death. The winged horse, with his glossy mane and powerful wings, would soon take flight into the world of myth, where he would carry the legacy of his divine origin. Pegasus's origin was a strange and powerful one. Medusa had been a mortal woman, transformed into a Gorgon, cursed by Athena for her beauty and her association with Poseidon. When the god of the sea, in the form of a bird, violated Medusa in Athena's shrine, it was the beginning of a chain of events that would lead to the birth of one of the most iconic creatures in Greek mythology. After Perseus's victory over Medusa, the winged horse was born, his flight symbolic of freedom and power, his wings sweeping across the sky as he sprang from his mother's neck. The act of birth itself was one of violent transformation, the severing of Medusa's head bringing forth both life and death in the same moment. As the blood poured from her severed neck, it brought forth life in the form of Pegasus, whose wings would carry him far from the mortal world. While the birth of Pegasus was an event that marked the beginning of his legendary existence, it was only the start of his journey. After he was born, Pegasus was taken by the winds and set upon the path that would lead him to many heroic deeds. One of his first feats was assisting the hero Bellerophon in his battle against the fearsome Chimera, a monster with the body of a lion, the head of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. With Pegasus's wings, Bellerophon was able to fly above the beast and strike it down, a victory that would become one of the greatest in Greek mythology. But despite his victory, Pegasus was not content to remain grounded in the world of mortals. His spirit, as untamed as the winds, called him toward the heavens. One of the most defining moments in Pegasus's journey occurred when he attempted to rise to the heavens. Bellerophon, filled with pride from his victory, sought to join the gods on Mount Olympus. He attempted to ride Pegasus to the top of the world, where the gods resided. But Zeus, the king of the gods, did not take kindly to such defiance. In a powerful act, Zeus sent a gadfly to sting Pegasus, causing the mighty steed to buck and send his rider crashing back to earth. Although Bellerophon fell humiliated, Pegasus continued his flight, undeterred by the fall. He soared higher, breaking free from the world of mortals and joining the gods in the sky. As Zeus's steed, Pegasus carried the thunderbolts of the king of the gods, becoming an essential part of the divine order, his wings an instrument of Zeus' will. The flight of Pegasus was a reminder of the power that could be held by those who are born of the gods, a creature who is both part of the divine and part of the mortal world. Pegasus's connection to the heavens was not limited to his service to Zeus. The mighty horse also became associated with the Muses, the 9 goddesses of inspiration and the arts. It was said that when Pegasus struck the earth with his hoof on Mount Helicon, a sacred spring, Hippocrene, burst forth from the ground. This spring, known as the Fountain of the Horse, was said to possess the power to inspire those who drank from it, a gift from the gods that brought forth creativity and wisdom. The Muses, who were the patrons of poets, musicians, and artists, were said to have made their home by the waters of Hippocrene, a place of divine inspiration made possible by the mighty hoof of Pegasus. The spring's water flowed from the rock where Pegasus had struck, its power continuing to inspire those who sought to create. It was the divine gift of Pegasus that made the spring so sacred, linking the winged horse to the creative forces of the universe. The story of Hippocrene was told in many different versions, but the central element remained the same. It was Pegasus who, through his powerful flight and the force of his hooves, brought forth the fountain that became a symbol of creativity and divine inspiration. In some versions of the myth, Pegasus was said to have struck the ground out of thirst, but in others, the story centered on his role in aiding the Muses during their contest with the daughters of Pyrrhus on Mount Helicon. Regardless of the details, it was clear that Pegasus's actions had a lasting impact on the world, and his legacy would be tied to the arts and the divine forces that inspired creation. Pegasus's connection to the Muses also extended beyond the spring of Hippocrene. His wings, which had carried him across the skies, became a symbol of the ability to transcend the mortal world and reach for something greater. Just as Pegasus had ascended to the heavens, the Muses were believed to elevate the minds of those who sought their wisdom, lifting them above the ordinary and into the realm of the divine. Pegasus, as the steed of the gods, became a bridge between the human and the divine, a creature who symbolized both the power of the gods and the potential for greatness within mortals. In addition to his connection with the Muses and the spring of Hippocrene, Pegasus was also immortalized in the stars. As a constellation, Pegasus's image was placed among the heavens, his wings spread wide across the sky, a reminder of his celestial nature and his role in the divine order. The constellation of Pegasus, rising in the sky, marked the arrival of spring and the changing of the seasons. The appearance of the winged horse in the night sky was a symbol of renewal, the forces of nature shifting with the changing winds. The stars that formed the shape of Pegasus became a celestial map, guiding those who looked up to the heavens and reminding them of the mighty horse who had once soared through the sky, carrying the thunderbolts of Zeus and the inspiration of the Muses, from the blood of Medusa to the stars in the sky. Pegasus's story was one of power, transformation, and divine influence. His birth from the Gorgon's neck marked the beginning of a journey that would take him from the mortal world to the heavens, where he would become a symbol of both divine power and creative inspiration. Through his actions, from his service to Zeus to his creation of the sacred spring of Hippocrene, Pegasus left an indelible mark on the world, a mark that would continue to inspire and awe for generations to come. Pegasus, the winged horse born from the neck of Medusa after her beheading, became not just a creature of legend, but a powerful force of nature. His powerful wings carried him far above the earth, yet his actions on the ground were as significant as his flight. It was on Mount Helicon, the sacred mountain of the Muses, where Pegasus would perform one of his most lasting and remarkable feats. As he soared over the land, his hoof struck the earth with such force that it caused the earth to tremble, and from that strike a magical spring burst forth. This spring, known as Hippocrene, would become a source of inspiration for generations to come, linked forever to Pegasus and his divine nature. The Muses, the goddesses of the arts and inspiration, who resided on Mount Helicon, were said to have witnessed the creation of this spring. The power of Pegasus's hoof not only created the water, but also transformed the land, giving it a divine purpose. The spring, gushing from the rock, would flow for eternity, and anyone who drank from it would be blessed with the gift of creativity and artistic insight. The story of Hippocrene was told in many places, and its influence spread far beyond the borders of Boeotia, where Mount Helicon stood, in Troizenos, for example. The locals believed their own version of the spring's origin, with Pegasus striking the ground in their land as well, bringing forth the sacred water. The people of Troizenos also used the water from Hippocrene for purification rituals, linking the spring not just to creativity, but to spiritual and physical cleansing. The significance of Hippocrene transcended its physical form, symbolizing the transformative power of nature and the gods. Pegasus's strike against the rock was not just an act of creation, but an act that bridged the divine with the mortal, bringing forth something that would inspire both the artist and the soul. It was not just the spring of Hippocrene that became legendary, but the mountain itself. Mount Helicon, the home of the Muses, stood as a place of sacred worship and artistic devotion. The Muses, who had long been tied to this mountain, were said to be the ones who would guide the spirits of poets, musicians, and artists, granting them the ability to create works that would echo through the ages. In the myth, Pegasus's intervention on the mountain, by creating the spring, was seen as a way of honoring the Muses and strengthening their connection to the earth. The spring, which was said to have flowed from Pegasus's hoof, became a focal point for anyone seeking to invoke the creative powers of the divine, and it marked the place where inspiration itself was born. The waters, fresh and pure, were believed to imbue anyone who drank from them with the ability to craft beauty and insight, making Hippocrene the ultimate source of artistic energy. As Pegasus became more intertwined with the Muses and their sacred spring, the stories surrounding him also grew in importance. He was no longer just a winged horse born from the blood of a Gorgon, but a divine creature whose actions shaped the world of art and creativity. His role in creating Hippocrene was just one of the many acts that would solidify his place in myth. He was linked to the very forces that inspired creation, both in the heavens and on earth. The impact of his strike on Mount Helicon would echo through time, shaping the lives of those who came after him. Poets, musicians, and artists would forever be connected to Pegasus, for his gift of the spring would forever be the symbol of divine inspiration, the place where the seeds of art were sown and nurtured by the gods. The importance of Pegasus's connection to the Muses and the spring was not just in his creation of the water, but in the idea that the arts were divinely inspired, that the creative process itself was a gift from the gods. In ancient Greece, the Muses were not just abstract concepts, but real, tangible forces that shaped the world. They were invoked before every work of art, every performance, and every creative endeavor. And so, the creation of Hippocrene, the wellspring of inspiration, was seen as a testament to the power of the divine to guide the hands of artists and poets. It was a reminder that the beauty and wisdom that artists sought to create did not come solely from their own efforts, but were inspired by something far greater than themselves. In many versions of the myth, the fountain of Hippocrene was also linked to the mountain's fertility and the abundance of nature. The spring's waters, which flowed freely from the earth, were seen as a reflection of the natural world's vitality. The landscape surrounding the spring was lush with vegetation, and the Muses' groves where poets and artists gathered to draw inspiration, were rich with life. The mountain itself was a place of growth, not only for the body, but for the mind and spirit as well. It was a place where the earth met the heavens, and where the divine touched the mortal world, making it a source of constant renewal and creation. But Pegasus's role in the creation of Hippocrene was not the only story that tied him to the Muses. In other myths, it is said that Pegasus's power was felt in other parts of Greece, where similar springs, such as the one at Troizenos, were believed to have been created by his hooves. These springs, like the one on Mount Helicon, were seen as sacred places of inspiration, linked to the power of the winged horse and his connection to the gods. Wherever Pegasus went, he left a trail of divine creation, a reminder of the power that flowed from the gods into the world of mortals. As the myth of Pegasus and the spring of Hippocrene spread, so too did the symbolism of the winged horse. He came to represent not only the power of the gods, but also the potential for humans to reach beyond their limitations and tap into the divine. The spring of Hippocrene, created by Pegasus's strike, became a symbol of how creativity could be channeled and nurtured, a force that could transform the world. Pegasus's role in the myth was more than just one of creation. It was a reminder of the divine inspiration that flowed through all things, inspiring both gods and mortals alike to reach for greatness. The earth shook with the power of Pegasus as his hooves struck the ground, leaving a hollow where water began to pool, which would later take his name. Hippocrene, the fountain of the horse. This spring, born from the divine force of Pegasus's strike, became a symbol of creativity and inspiration, its waters flowing freely to nourish those who sought wisdom and artistic prowess. It was not only a physical manifestation of Pegasus's strength, but also a sacred place that carried the divine influence of the gods. The connection between the winged horse and the earth was unbreakable, and the waters that flowed from the hollow left by his hoofprint carried with them the power of creation itself. The spring would stand as a testament to the divine nature of Pegasus, a reminder that even in moments of raw power and force, beauty and wisdom could be born. But Pegasus was not simply a creator of springs. He was also a mighty steed in the service of heroes. His most famous association came when he was given to Bellerophon, the hero destined to conquer the fearsome Chimera, a creature that breathed fire and terrorized the land. Bellerophon, despite his noble birth, struggled to tame the wild Pegasus. He sought the help of a soothsayer, who guided him to a vision that would change his fate. As he lay upon the altar of Athena, a dream came to him, in which the goddess appeared with a golden bridle that would tame the powerful steed. The vision was clear. Bellerophon must sacrifice a bull to Poseidon, his father, and use the magic bridle to take control of Pegasus. When he awoke, he found the bridle beside him, a sign that the gods had indeed spoken to him, and he followed the instructions given to him in the dream. With the bridle in hand, Bellerophon went to Poseidon and offered the bull, seeking favor from the sea god. As the prophecy foretold, Bellerophon was able to mount Pegasus, and the two became a formidable pair. Together, they soared through the skies faster than the wind itself, with Bellerophon riding the mighty steed into battle. The first of their challenges came when they faced the Chimera, a beast with the body of a lion, the head of a goat, and the tail of a serpent, capable of spewing fire from its mouth. With Pegasus's wings carrying him above the ground, Bellerophon was able to strike the Chimera down, conquering the beast that had plagued the land for so long. Their victory was not just one of strength, but of divine intervention, as the gods had set them on this path. The pair's triumph was not limited to the Chimera alone. Pegasus and Bellerophon also fought the Selimi, a fierce tribe of warriors, and the Amazons, a race of warrior women. With Pegasus carrying his rider above the battlefield, the duo became an unstoppable force, feared by all who opposed them. But their victory, however sweet, would not last. The gods, as they often did with mortals who rose too high, had other plans for Bellerophon and Pegasus. His pride, born from his triumphs, led him to believe he could ascend to the heavens themselves, to join Zeus and the other gods on Mount Olympus. But such a fate was not meant for mortal men, or even for the mighty Pegasus. As Bellerophon sought to ride Pegasus into the sky, Zeus, angered by the arrogance of the mortal hero, sent a gadfly to sting the winged horse, causing Pegasus to buck. Bellerophon was thrown from the steed, falling to the earth, where he would live out his days in disgrace. As for Pegasus, the mighty horse continued his flight into the heavens, unscathed and untouched by the fate that had befallen his rider. Zeus, recognizing the horse's power, welcomed him into the divine realm, where he became a companion to the king of the gods, carrying Zeus's thunderbolts and serving as a symbol of the power of the gods. Though Bellerophon's story ended in tragedy, the legend of Pegasus lived on. His flight, his strength, and his connection to the gods made him a symbol of divine power and inspiration. The winged horse's actions had left a permanent mark on the earth and in the heavens, with the spring of Hippocrene serving as a lasting testament to his strength and the inspiration he brought to the world. As the constellation of Pegasus rose in the sky, it marked the arrival of spring and the changing of the seasons, reminding all who gazed upon it of the mighty horse that had once flown above the earth, leaving behind a legacy that would never fade. The story of Bellerophon and Pegasus, while filled with triumph and glory, was also one of hubris and downfall, a reminder of the fragility of mortal greatness. The gods had granted Bellerophon great power, but they had also shown that such power must be respected, and that no mortal, no matter how great, was meant to share the heavens with the divine. The fall of Bellerophon was a humbling moment, one that echoed throughout Greek mythology, where the boundaries between gods and mortals were always made clear. Yet, despite this, Pegasus remained a figure of awe and wonder, his wings carrying the stories of gods and heroes alike, from the earth to the stars. The legend of Pegasus and Bellerophon also served as a reminder that even in the most powerful moments, the gods were always watching. The winged horse was not just a symbol of victory, but also of the fleeting nature of mortal glory. The story of how Bellerophon reached for the heavens and fell back to earth, and how Pegasus continued to soar, would echo through the ages as a lesson in humility, power, and the delicate balance between them. And as long as the constellation of Pegasus remained in the sky, the tale of the winged horse would continue to inspire those who looked up to the stars, reminding them of the power and wonder that once graced the earth. Pegasus, the magnificent winged horse born from the blood of Medusa, after her beheading by Perseus, soared through the skies with grace and power, his wings cutting through the air like the gales themselves. The birth of this divine creature was nothing short of miraculous. From the neck of the slain Gorgon sprung the fierce and untamed Pegasus, along with his brother Chrysaor, both children of Medusa and Poseidon. Their arrival from such a tragic and violent moment signified their link to both the world of mortals and the gods. It was said that Pegasus, after emerging from Medusa's blood, would go on to be the steed of the hero Bellerophon, and together they would face terrifying monsters and conquer the impossible. Bellerophon, aided by his magical horse, became a legend, slaying the fire-breathing chimera, a beast that no mortal could hope to defeat without divine intervention. The first meeting between Bellerophon and Pegasus was no simple task. Pegasus was a wild and free creature, not easily tamed. Bellerophon, despite his strength and noble lineage, could not catch the horse by force alone. It was Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who intervened in the mortal's quest. She appeared in a vision, presenting him with a magical bridle that would tame the mighty steed. Following Athena's guidance, Bellerophon successfully bridled Pegasus, a pivotal moment that marked the beginning of their bond. With the power of the winged horse beneath him, Bellerophon embarked on a series of heroic deeds, his first and greatest challenge being the chimera. This fire-breathing creature, with the head of a lion, the middle of a goat, and the tail of a serpent, had terrorized the land for years, and no one had dared to challenge it until Bellerophon rode Pegasus into battle. Riding above the chimera, Bellerophon struck the beast down, marking the victory as one of the most iconic moments in Greek mythology. But the story of Bellerophon and Pegasus was far from over. They went on to fight the Solymi, a fierce tribe of warriors, and the Amazons, a race of warrior women. Everywhere they went, they were victorious, and Bellerophon became known far and wide as a hero, his reputation growing with each battle. Yet even as Bellerophon's glory reached its peak, the gods were watching. The mighty Pegasus, with his wings of the heavens, was not meant to remain forever in the realm of mortals. His flight, though powerful and noble, could not go unnoticed by Zeus, the king of the gods. Bellerophon, intoxicated by his success, sought to fly even higher. Believing he could ascend to the heavens and join the gods on Mount Olympus, he tried to ride Pegasus higher into the sky. This act of hubris, however, would not be allowed. Zeus, enraged by the mortal's pride, sent a gadfly to sting Pegasus, causing the horse to buck and throw Bellerophon down to the earth. The hero fell, broken and humiliated, while Pegasus continued his flight toward the heavens, a symbol of divine power and freedom. It is said that Pegasus then became the trusted steed of Zeus, carrying his thunderbolts and serving as a reminder of the power that the gods held over the mortal realm. In addition to his heroic deeds, Pegasus became associated with various springs that were said to have sprung forth from his hooves. The most famous of these was Hippocrene, the sacred spring on Mount Helicon, which was created when Pegasus struck the ground with his hoof. The spring became a symbol of creativity and divine inspiration, and it was said that anyone who drank from its waters would be granted the ability to create works of art and poetry. This connection to the Muses further cemented Pegasus's place in the divine order, as he not only served the gods, but also played a role in the creation of beauty and wisdom. The spring of Hippocrene was just one of the many places where Pegasus's presence was felt. In the city of Troezen, the people believed that a similar spring had been created when Pegasus struck the ground with his hoof, and they too attributed their artistic and spiritual inspirations to the divine horse. The people of Corinth also revered Pegasus, and it is said that their famous spring, Perine, was tied to the winged horse's visit to their land. According to the myths, when Bellerophon caught Pegasus while the horse was drinking from the spring, it marked the beginning of their bond. The connection between Pegasus and the people of Corinth was not just symbolic, but also practical, as the water from these springs was believed to have healing properties and was used in rituals and purification ceremonies. In this way, Pegasus was seen as a divine provider, offering both physical sustenance and spiritual inspiration. Pausanias, the ancient Greek traveler and geographer, recorded many of these myths and their connections to specific places. He described how the people of Corinth celebrated the image of Bellerophon riding Pegasus, and how they believed the waters of their springs were linked to the divine horse's touch. The connection between Pegasus and the earth was not limited to his actions in the sky, but was also felt in the physical world, where his influence could be seen in the sacred springs and the lands that revered him. In fact, many temples and altars were dedicated to both Bellerophon and Pegasus, as the people recognized the importance of their divine connection to the natural and spiritual world. In addition to his role in creating sacred springs, Pegasus also had a significant place in the art and culture of ancient Greece. He was frequently depicted in sculptures, reliefs, and pottery, often shown in scenes with Bellerophon, fighting monsters or soaring through the heavens. The most famous of these depictions is the scene of Bellerophon riding Pegasus as they conquer the Chimera, a moment that encapsulated the hero's strength, bravery, and divine assistance. The image of Pegasus in art became a symbol not just of the winged horse himself, but also of the divine favor and inspiration that he brought to those who were worthy. Despite his fall from grace with Bellerophon, the story of Pegasus did not end in tragedy. Instead, his legacy endured, both in the heavens and on earth. As a constellation, Pegasus was immortalized in the night sky, his wings spread wide across the heavens, a reminder of his power, grace, and divine purpose. The constellation became a symbol of change and renewal, marking the arrival of spring and the turning of the seasons. For the people who gazed up at the stars, the image of Pegasus flying across the sky was a constant reminder of the divine influence that shaped their world and their stories. The winged horse, born from the blood of Medusa, had become a symbol of the god's power and the eternal connection between the divine and the mortal. Bellerophon, mounted upon the mighty Pegasus, flew high above the earth, seeking to rid the land of the terror that was the Chimera, a fire-breathing monster that wreaked havoc on the Lycians. The Chimera, a creature with the body of a lion, the head of a goat, and the tail of a serpent, spewed fire from its mouth, scorching everything in its path. The beast was unstoppable, and many had failed to defeat it, but Bellerophon, with the help of his divine steed, Pegasus, was determined to put an end to its reign of terror. With Pegasus carrying him above the ground, Bellerophon struck down the Chimera, his arrows finding their mark as the beast roared in agony and fell to the earth, defeated. The hero's victory over the Chimera was celebrated, and Bellerophon returned to his people as a hero, his name forever tied to the creature he had slain. However, the tale of Bellerophon did not end with his victory. After the battle, Bellerophon, filled with pride and ambition, sought to ride Pegasus even higher, aiming to ascend to the heavens and join the gods on Mount Olympus. The gods, however, did not take kindly to such hubris. Zeus, the king of the gods, saw Bellerophon's arrogance as a challenge to the divine order. In a swift act of divine punishment, Zeus sent a gadfly to sting Pegasus, causing the horse to buck and throw Bellerophon from his back. Bellerophon fell from the heavens, his body crashing to the earth, broken and humiliated. The hero's attempt to reach the gods had ended in failure, a stark reminder of the limits placed upon mortals by the divine. As for Pegasus, the mighty horse continued his flight into the heavens, unscathed by the fall of his rider. With wings spread wide, Pegasus soared through the skies, carrying Zeus's thunderbolt and serving as the king of the gods' trusted steed. His role as the bearer of the thunder was one of great honor, and Pegasus became a symbol of divine power, strength, and grace. No longer a mere creature of the earth, Pegasus ascended to the realm of the immortals, living in the halls of Mount Olympus, where he would carry Zeus's thunder and lightning to every corner of the world. But while Bellerophon's story ended in disgrace, the legend of Pegasus only grew. His transformation from a wild, untamed steed into a divine servant of the gods made him a symbol of the eternal struggle between mortal ambition and divine will. Pegasus's flight into the heavens was not just a journey through the sky. It was a passage from the mortal realm to the divine, a reminder of the gulf that exists between gods and men. The winged horse, born of Medusa's blood, had transcended the limits of the earth and had become a part of the very fabric of the heavens. As time passed, Pegasus's place in the heavens was solidified. He was immortalized as a constellation, his form etched into the stars for all to see. The constellation of Pegasus, with its wings spread wide across the sky, became a symbol of divine power and inspiration. It was said that the rising of Pegasus marked the arrival of spring, a season of renewal and change. In the night sky, the winged horse continued his journey, forever circling in the heavens, a reminder of the divine power that had shaped the world below. The story of Pegasus did not end with his flight into the heavens, for his influence continued to be felt on the earth. It was said that, as he soared above Mount Helicon, he struck the earth with his hoof, and from that strike, the spring of Hippocrene was born. This sacred spring, which flowed with water of divine inspiration, became a source of creativity for poets, artists, and musicians. The Muses, who were the patrons of the arts, were said to have used the spring to nourish their creative powers. The waters of Hippocrene were believed to have the power to inspire those who drank from them, granting them the ability to create works of beauty and wisdom. In this way, Pegasus, the winged horse of the gods, became a symbol not just of power, but of inspiration, linking the heavens with the creativity of mortals. The spring of Hippocrene was not the only sacred water source connected to Pegasus. It was also said that in other parts of Greece, similar springs had been created by his hooves. In Troyzon, for example, the locals believed that a spring had been created by Pegasus's touch, much like the one at Mount Helicon. The people of Troyzon, like the inhabitants of Corinth, revered the divine horse, and they too believed that the waters of their springs carried with them the gift of inspiration and divine favor. Pausanias, the ancient Greek traveler, described many of these places where the divine influence of Pegasus could be felt. He recorded the various springs and altars dedicated to Pegasus, noting how the people of different cities worshipped the winged horse and sought to honor him through sacred rituals. In Corinth, for example, it was said that a spring had been created by Pegasus when he drank from the waters of the city's famous well. The people of Corinth believed that the waters of this spring, like those of Hippocrene, had the power to cleanse and inspire, and they linked Pegasus's visit to their land with the creative and divine forces that flowed through their city. As the centuries passed, the image of Pegasus continued to be a powerful symbol in art and culture. In sculptures, pottery, and paintings, the winged horse was depicted in scenes of battle and triumph, often shown alongside Bellerophon as they fought the Chimera or soared through the heavens. The most famous depictions of Pegasus show him as a divine creature, his wings spread wide as he carries Zeus's thunderbolts, or as he strikes the earth with his hoof to create the sacred spring of Hippocrene. These images of Pegasus, both as a mighty steed and as a symbol of divine inspiration, became some of the most enduring works of ancient art, ensuring that the legacy of the winged horse would live on long after the myths themselves had been told. Despite the fall of Bellerophon, the story of Pegasus remained a powerful reminder of the connection between the gods and mortals, the divine and the earthly. The winged horse, whose strength and grace had carried him from the earth to the heavens, continued to inspire awe and wonder. As the constellation of Pegasus rose in the sky, it became a symbol of the divine power that shaped the world, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the light of the gods shone through. The legacy of Pegasus, the mighty winged horse born of blood and destiny, would continue to soar across the heavens for all eternity. Born from the blood of Medusa, the Gorgon, and Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea, Pegasus, the winged horse, emerged in a moment of divine and tragic power. As the blood of Medusa poured from her severed neck, Pegasus sprang forth, a creature of both sky and earth, with wings that could carry him far above the ground. His birth was as miraculous as it was violent, a sign that he was destined for greatness beyond the realm of mortals. Pegasus's wings were the physical embodiment of freedom, power, and the connection between the heavens and the earth. His swift flight across the sky was a symbol of his divine nature, and it wasn't long before he became one of the most iconic figures in Greek mythology. With his strength and grace, Pegasus would play a pivotal role in the feats of heroes and the battles between gods and monsters. One of the most famous of these heroes was Bellerophon, a mortal who would rise to fame riding Pegasus. Together, they faced the fearsome Chimera, a fire-breathing monster terrorizing the land. With Bellerophon on Pegasus's back, the two became an unstoppable force. They soared through the skies, and with the precision of the gods, Bellerophon struck down the Chimera, saving the land from destruction. The bond between the hero and the winged horse was undeniable, as Pegasus carried Bellerophon to victory, allowing the hero to accomplish feats no mortal could achieve. But as with many great heroes, the story of Bellerophon would be one of both triumph and downfall. Filled with pride after his victory, Bellerophon sought to rise even higher, desiring to join the gods on Mount Olympus. He attempted to fly to the heavens, believing that with the power of Pegasus beneath him, he could reach the divine realm. However, this act of hubris would not go unpunished. Zeus, the king of the gods, disapproved of such arrogance. In a divine act of retribution, Zeus sent a gadfly to sting Pegasus, causing the horse to buck violently. The force of the buck threw Bellerophon from his steed, and the hero fell from the heavens, crashing back to the earth in disgrace. His fall was a tragic reminder of the boundaries between mortals and gods, and of the dangers of overstepping one's place in the divine order. As for Pegasus, the mighty horse continued his flight, soaring upwards to the heavens, where he was placed among the stars by Zeus, becoming a constellation that would forever mark the skies. Pegasus's ascent to the heavens was not just the end of his earthly journey, but the beginning of his immortal legacy. As a constellation, Pegasus would shine brightly in the sky, a symbol of divine power and grace. The constellation of Pegasus, often depicted with his wings spread wide, became a beacon in the night, a reminder of the mighty horse that had once soared through the skies, carrying Zeus's thunderbolts and serving as a symbol of the divine power that governed the world. His wings, once a means of flight, now carried him across the heavens, forever free from the limitations of the mortal realm. The story of his rise to the stars was not just a tale of triumph, but of the eternal connection between the earth and the sky, between the mortal and the divine. In addition to his role as a celestial steed, Pegasus also became a symbol of inspiration and creativity. In the myth, it is said that when he struck the earth with his hoof on Mount Helicon, a sacred spring, Hippocrene, burst forth from the ground. This spring, which flowed with water of divine inspiration, was believed to grant those who drank from it the power to create. The Muses, the goddesses of the arts, were said to have used the spring to nourish their creative powers, just as Pegasus's wings had the power to carry him across the skies. So too did the waters of Hippocrene carry the gift of creativity to those who sought it. The connection between Pegasus and the Muses made the winged horse a symbol not just of power, but of the divine inspiration that could shape the world. The spring of Hippocrene was not the only place where the divine influence of Pegasus could be felt. In Troezen, a town in Argolis, it was believed that the earth sent up water when Pegasus struck the ground with his hoof. The people of Troezen, like those in Corinth and Boeotia, revered the winged horse, and they too linked the waters of their sacred springs to his divine presence. The belief in Pegasus's power to create life-giving springs was widespread, and it was a reflection of his role as a bringer of divine gifts to the earth. Wherever Pegasus went, his influence was felt in the waters that flowed from the land, carrying with them the essence of the gods. Pegasus's connection to the earth was not just symbolic, it was also a source of life and inspiration. The many springs associated with him became sacred places where people would gather to seek divine favor and inspiration. These springs were believed to possess healing powers, and those who bathed in their waters or drank from them were said to be blessed with the gift of creativity and wisdom. In this way, Pegasus's legacy lived on in the people who sought to draw from the divine waters that had flowed from his hooves. The winged horse, once a wild creature born of blood and fate, had become a symbol of divine power, creativity, and transformation. In art and literature, Pegasus continued to be a powerful symbol. He was depicted in numerous works, often shown with Bellerophon riding upon his back, conquering monsters and soaring through the heavens. His image became synonymous with heroism, divine favor, and the limitless potential of the gods. In ancient Greece, his image was found on pottery, sculpture, and even coins, marking his importance in the culture and religion of the time. The winged horse was not just a figure of myth, he was a representation of the divine forces that shaped the world and the inspiration that came from them. As the constellation of Pegasus rose in the night sky, it became a reminder of the connection between the mortal world and the divine. The stars that formed the shape of the winged horse marked the arrival of spring and the changing of the seasons, symbolizing renewal and growth. The image of Pegasus in the sky was a constant reminder of the power that the gods held over the earth and of the divine gifts that could be bestowed upon those who were worthy. For centuries, the story of Pegasus continued to inspire awe and wonder as the winged horse soared through the heavens, his wings carrying the legacy of both the gods and the mortals who had been touched by his power. Through his victory over the Chimera, his rise to the heavens, and his place among the stars, Pegasus became a figure of eternal inspiration, a symbol of the divine forces that shape the world and the creativity that flows from them. His story, woven into the fabric of Greek mythology, continues to resonate, reminding all who look up at the stars of the power and grace that once soared through the heavens, a gift from the gods that still inspires today. The Sphinx, a fearsome creature from Greek mythology, was a being of terrifying beauty and power, often depicted with the body of a lion, the wings of an eagle, and the face of a woman. She was born of two monstrous beings, with some legends claiming her to be the offspring of Orthos and Chimera, while others said she was the daughter of Typhon and Echidna or Typhon and Chimera. No matter her exact parentage, the Sphinx's lineage was undeniably rooted in the chaos and destruction of the primordial monsters that roamed the earth. Her family, like her, was a blend of terrifying creatures, each more powerful than the last. The Sphinx herself embodied the very essence of mystery and danger, combining strength, wisdom, and an insatiable hunger for fear. Her most famous tale unfolded at the gates of Thebes, where she brought terror to the land by posing a riddle to those who sought to enter the city. The Sphinx, sitting atop a rocky ledge, would ask travelers to solve her riddle, and anyone who failed to answer correctly would be devoured. The riddle she posed was simple, yet unsolvable. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Many tried to solve it, but none succeeded, and one by one they fell victim to her deadly claws and teeth. The people of Thebes were in despair, as the Sphinx's presence continued to drain their strength, and her riddle seemed impossible to decipher. The city was crippled by her reign of terror, with no hope of escape or solution in sight. However, a hero soon arrived, one who would not only solve the riddle, but would also free the city from the monster's grip. This hero, brave and clever, faced the Sphinx's challenge head-on. As the Sphinx posed her riddle once again, he answered it correctly, revealing that the answer was man. Man, as an infant, crawls on all 4s. As an adult, walks on 2 legs, and in old age uses a cane, walking on 3 legs. The Sphinx, having been bested by the hero's wisdom, could not bear the humiliation of defeat. In her despair and rage, she cast herself off the mountainside, ending her reign of terror. With her death, Thebes was freed, and the people rejoiced, grateful to the hero who had saved them from the monster's wrath. The Sphinx's demise marked the end of a dark chapter for Thebes, but her legacy would live on. She became a symbol of both the dangers of pride and the wisdom needed to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Though she had brought ruin and death to the city, the hero's victory over her would be remembered for generations. The Sphinx's defeat also marked a turning point for the hero, who would go on to face other trials and challenges. His victory over the Sphinx was just one of many feats that solidified his place in myth as a hero of great intellect and bravery. In ancient art, the Sphinx was a common figure, often depicted as a creature of immense power and beauty. Sculptures of the Sphinx were frequently used as grave markers for young men who had died too soon, symbolizing both the mystery of life and the inevitability of death. In these works, the Sphinx was often shown in a reclining position, with the body of a lion and the head of a woman, her wings outstretched as if ready to take flight. The Sphinx's presence in art served as a reminder of the dangers of the unknown, the complexity of life, and the mysteries that lay beyond human understanding. Her image was a powerful one that combined both elegance and menace, drawing viewers to contemplate the deeper meanings behind her form. The Sphinx was not only a figure in Greek mythology, but also a creature with roots in other ancient cultures, particularly Egypt. The Egyptian Sphinx, a figure with the body of a lion and the head of a human, was a symbol of strength, protection, and wisdom. These sphinxes were often placed at the entrances to temples, where they stood as guardians, protecting the sacred spaces from intruders. The most famous of these Egyptian sphinxes is the Great Sphinx of Giza, which, unlike its Greek counterpart, was without wings and lay in a prone position. The Egyptian Sphinx was often considered a symbol of royal power and divine protection, watching over the land with its watchful eyes. Over time, the Greek version of the Sphinx evolved, incorporating the wings of an eagle and the fierce nature of the lion, becoming a creature that was both beautiful and deadly. In Greek mythology, the Sphinx's role was not just limited to the riddle she posed, but also to her connection to the larger forces of fate and destiny. The Sphinx's riddle was seen as a test of both intelligence and wisdom, and those who failed to answer correctly were punished with death. This punishment was not just a physical death, but a symbolic one, representing the inability to understand the deeper mysteries of life. The Sphinx herself, as a creature born of chaos and destruction, symbolized the destructive nature of the unknown and the consequences of failing to confront it. Her connection to the house of Laius, the king of Thebes, added another layer to her myth. The Sphinx was sent to Thebes as punishment for the crime committed by Laius, who had abducted and violated Chrysippus, the son of Pelops. The gods, angered by Laius's actions, sent the Sphinx to torment the people of Thebes, ensuring that they would suffer for his transgressions. The Sphinx's presence was a divine retribution, a reminder of the gods' power to bring punishment upon those who defied their will. Despite the Sphinx's death, her legacy lived on in the myths and stories of ancient Greece. She became a symbol of both the dangers of pride and the rewards of wisdom, a reminder that only by confronting the unknown with knowledge and understanding could one hope to succeed. The Sphinx's riddle, though unsolvable for many, was ultimately overcome by a hero who was able to see through the mystery and find the truth hidden within. Her defeat marked the end of her terror, but her story continued to resonate, a timeless reminder of the balance between mystery and reason, between fear and understanding. The Sphinx, a creature both beautiful and terrifying, had a complex and varied representation in ancient Greek mythology, with the body of a lion, the wings of a bird, and the head of a woman. She was often depicted in different ways, depending on the artist or poet. Some portrayed her in a reclining position, a lion's body with the face of a maiden, while others chose to show her with the lower body of a man, the claws of a vulture, and the wings of an eagle. The Sphinx's image was often used in architectural works, sculptures, and reliefs, marking her significance in Greek culture and art. Her figure was not just that of a physical monster, but a symbol of the challenge and danger that lay hidden beneath beauty and allure. In her most famous myth, the Sphinx descended upon the city of Thebes, terrorizing the people with her riddle. She sat upon a rock, her wings spread wide, blocking the city's gates. She would pose a riddle to any traveler who attempted to pass, and if they could not answer correctly, they were devoured by the monster. The riddle she posed was simple but difficult. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Many tried to solve it, but all failed and perished under her deadly claws. The city, stricken by the monster's curse, suffered for years as the Sphinx continued to consume all who could not answer her riddle. The Sphinx's terror of Thebes was not just physical but symbolic of the enigma that life itself often represents. She represented a puzzle, a mystery that could not be solved without wisdom, and through her challenge, the people of Thebes were reminded of their own limitations in the face of the unknown. Yet the Sphinx was not invincible, and it was her own riddle that would be her undoing. A hero, clever and bold, arrived at Thebes, and he, unlike those before him, was able to solve her riddle. The answer was man, for a human crawls on all 4s as a baby, walks on 2 legs in adulthood, and uses a cane, or 3rd leg, in old age. The Sphinx, unable to bear the defeat, threw herself off a mountain ending her reign of terror over Thebes. Her death marked the end of the city's suffering, and the people rejoiced, grateful to the hero who had freed them from her grasp. The Sphinx's fall, however, did not erase her from the annals of Greek mythology. Instead, her image would live on, immortalized in art, literature, and the collective memory of the Greek people. The Sphinx, despite her monstrous nature, was remembered as a figure who represented both the terror of the unknown and the triumph of wisdom over danger. In the mythology, the Sphinx was also said to be a daughter of two other fearsome creatures, Orthos and Chimera. Orthos, a two-headed dog, and Chimera, a hybrid creature with the body of a lion, the head of a goat, and the tail of a serpent, were both beings of destruction and chaos. The Sphinx's parentage was as monstrous as her appearance, and it reflected the same themes of violence and danger that were present in the tales of her own life. Some myths also state that the Sphinx was a daughter of Typhon, a primordial monster whose rage and destruction were legendary. This connection to Typhon and other monstrous figures only added to the Sphinx's fearsome reputation. The Sphinx's riddle, which had plagued Thebes for so long, was a symbol of the trials that humans face in life. The challenge she presented was not just one of intellect but of survival. To solve the riddle was to face the unknown, to find a way to make sense of the chaos and mystery of life. And it was only through wisdom, the hero's cleverness, that the city was saved. The hero who answered correctly was not just saved by his intellect, but by his courage to face the unknown. And in doing so, he became a symbol of hope for the people of Thebes. Her representation in ancient art further emphasized the duality of the Sphinx. She was a beautiful yet deadly figure, a creature that combined both allure and danger. Often, the Sphinx was depicted on the tombs of young men who had died prematurely, her image symbolizing the unknown fate that awaited them. The Sphinx was a reminder of both the fleeting nature of life and the mysteries that surround it. Her figure, in all its terrifying beauty, was a reflection of the complexities of existence, of the duality of beauty and destruction that often went hand in hand. The Greek Sphinx, with her wings spread and her body a mixture of lion and human features, also drew inspiration from the Egyptian Sphinx, which was a more straightforward representation of a lion with the head of a human. The Egyptian sphinxes were often placed at the entrances to temples, symbolizing guardianship and protection, while the Egyptian sphinx was more grounded, in a reclining position. The Greek sphinx took flight, soaring above the earth and carrying with her the power of the unknown and the riddle that could not be solved by mere strength. In addition to her connection to the city of Thebes, the Sphinx's image also appeared in various other stories, many of which were linked to her terror. She was a figure who represented not just the dangers of the world, but the punishment of those who failed to confront them. In one version of her myth, the Sphinx was said to have been sent to Thebes by the gods as punishment for a crime committed by the city's king, Laius, who had abducted the son of a king from another land. The gods, angered by Laius's actions, sent the Sphinx to exact retribution. This made the Sphinx not just a monster, but a tool of divine vengeance, a creature whose power came from the gods themselves. The Sphinx's image persisted through time, appearing in art, literature, and even on the shields of warriors. Her presence on the shields of the warriors who fought against Thebes during the War of the Seven against Thebes, depicted as a ravenous beast that devoured men, served as a reminder of the city's past shame and suffering. She became a symbol not just of destruction, but of the consequences of defying the gods. The image of the Sphinx on the shields was a representation of the past that haunted the present, a reminder of the sins that could never be erased. The legacy of the Sphinx in Greek mythology is a complicated one. Though she brought terror to Thebes, her defeat also brought relief and victory. She was a creature who symbolized both the dangers of life and the triumph of wisdom, and in the end, it was through solving her riddle that the city was saved. In this way, the Sphinx's death was not just an end to her reign of terror, but the beginning of a new era for Thebes. One where the hero who solved her riddle would be remembered for generations to come. Her story, woven into the fabric of Greek mythology, would continue to inspire awe and reflection on the mysteries of life, fate, and destiny. The Sphinx, a creature of both mystery and terror, descended upon Thebes, bringing with her a plague that devastated the city and its people. With the head and chest of a woman, the body of a lion, and the wings of a bird, the Sphinx was a terrifying figure. She was a daughter of Typhon and Echidna, born from the chaos of the ancient world, and her very presence on the earth was a reminder of the power that the gods held over humanity. The Sphinx was no ordinary monster. She was a creature of intelligence and cunning, capable of speaking and posing a riddle to those who dared to pass her by. Her riddle, however, was more than just a puzzle. It was a challenge to the very essence of life itself. It was a test that no one had been able to solve, and many who had tried to answer it had paid with their lives. The riddle asked, what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? The people of Thebes were left desperate, for the answer was elusive, and the cost of failure was death. One by one, the bravest of the city's men tried to solve the riddle, but each failed, and the Sphinx claimed their lives. As the plague continued to grip Thebes, the king, Creon, announced that whoever could solve the Sphinx's riddle would not only save the city, but also be rewarded with the throne and the widow of Laius. The challenge was set, and the city waited with bated breath for someone to rise to the occasion. Among the many who heard the riddle was a hero, clever and determined, who had recently arrived in the city. This hero, without hesitation, approached the Sphinx, ready to face the challenge that had already taken so many lives. The Sphinx, confident in her riddle, posed the question once again, but this time, the hero answered with certainty. The answer was man. A man, as a baby, crawls on all 4s. As an adult, he walks on 2 legs, and in old age, he uses a cane, walking on 3 legs. The Sphinx, stunned and defeated by the answer, could not bear the shame of her failure. In her rage and despair, she cast herself off the mountain, ending her reign of terror. The city of Thebes was free at last, and the people rejoiced, for the monster that had plagued them for so long was no more. With the Sphinx's death, the hero's reward was great. He was made king of Thebes and married the widow of Laius, fulfilling the prophecy that had been foretold. Yet, the victory over the Sphinx was not just a personal triumph, but a moment of profound significance for the city and its people. The Sphinx had not only been a physical threat, but a symbol of the deeper mysteries of life, and her defeat represented the victory of reason over the unknown. The riddle she had posed was a reflection of the complexities of existence itself, life, growth, and the inevitable march toward death. By solving the riddle, the hero had shown that wisdom and understanding could overcome the most daunting of challenges. Despite her death, the Sphinx's legacy lived on. Her image was immortalized in art and literature, becoming a symbol of both terror and wisdom. Sculptures of the Sphinx were common in ancient Greece, often found adorning tombs of young men who had died too soon. These images served as reminders of the fleeting nature of life and the mysteries that surrounded it. The Sphinx was also depicted in architectural works, serving as a guardian figure, standing watch over sacred spaces and important places. Her image, with its wings spread wide and its eyes full of knowing, became synonymous with both beauty and danger, representing the dual nature of life itself, how beauty could hide a deadly force beneath, and how the unknown could either offer wisdom or lead to destruction. The story of the Sphinx also reflects the deep connections between Greek mythology and other ancient cultures. The concept of the Sphinx itself was borrowed from Egyptian mythology, where the Sphinx was depicted as a lion with the head of a human, often serving as a guardian to temples. The Greek version, however, was more fearsome, with her wings and riddle adding a layer of complexity to the myth. The Greek Sphinx was a creature of both the heavens and the earth, combining the strength of the lion with the intellect and mystery of the human form. The creature's ability to fly also symbolized the elusive nature of the riddle she posed, as if the answer to life's greatest questions was always just out of reach, waiting to be discovered by those worthy of solving it. While the Sphinx's role in the myth of Thebes is the most famous, her story was told in many different versions across ancient Greece. Some myths described her as a punishment sent by the gods to torment the Thebans for their failure to honor the divine will. Others suggested that she had been sent by Hera, angry with the people of Thebes for not punishing Laius for his crimes. In some versions, the Sphinx's presence was not a punishment at all, but a necessary trial that had to be faced in order to bring about change in the city. The gods, in their wisdom, often used such creatures to test humanity, to ensure that only the worthy could rise to the top and claim their rewards. The story of the Sphinx also highlighted the theme of fate, which was prevalent in Greek mythology. The riddle she posed was a test not just of intelligence, but of destiny. The answer to her question was something that had always been a part of life: humanity's natural progression from infancy to adulthood and old age. The riddle's solution was simple, yet it was the hero's wisdom and understanding that allowed him to see it. His ability to answer the riddle correctly was a sign of his divine favor, and in many ways, it was his fate to solve the puzzle and free the city from the Sphinx's grip. In the end, the Sphinx's death and the hero's triumph were more than just a victory over a monstrous creature. They were a reflection of the eternal struggle between wisdom and ignorance, between understanding and fear. The hero's ability to solve the riddle was a reminder that the mysteries of life could be unlocked through insight, and that even the most terrifying challenges could be overcome with the right knowledge. The Sphinx, though defeated, left behind a legacy that would echo through the ages, her riddle serving as a timeless symbol of the mysteries of life that would continue to challenge and inspire those who came after her. The Sphinx, a creature born of terrifying lineage, descended upon Thebes and brought with her a reign of death and despair. Her monstrous form, with the body of a lion, the wings of a bird, and the face of a woman, was not just an embodiment of fear, but of intelligence, cunning, and riddle. She had been sent to Thebes by the gods as a punishment, and she guarded the city's gates, posing a deadly challenge to anyone who dared to enter. Her riddle was simple, but his answer elusive. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? The answer to the riddle was tied to the very nature of life itself, yet no one could solve it. Many brave men tried, but when they failed to answer, the Sphinx would devour them, her hunger unending. The city of Thebes, cursed by this terror, lived in a constant state of fear, the people suffering as their best and brightest perished under the Sphinx's claws. The situation grew more desperate as the years passed. The city's ruler, Creon, seeking to end the terror and lift the plague upon his people, promised a great reward to anyone who could solve the Sphinx's riddle. The prize was both the throne of Thebes and the hand of the widow of Laius, the former king. Yet, despite the generous offer, no one could answer the riddle, and the Sphinx's bloodlust continued. Her riddle was a cruel reminder of the limits of human understanding, and the city seemed trapped in an endless cycle of death and failure. The hero who would eventually end this torment, however, arrived not by strength alone, but by wisdom and insight. This hero, determined and bold, arrived in Thebes after hearing of the challenge. The Sphinx, sitting at the gates, posed her riddle once more. With the knowledge of the oracle and the wisdom he had gained, the hero answered the question with certainty. "Man," he declared, "for as an infant, a person crawls on all fours. As an adult, they walk on 2 legs, and in old age, they use a cane, making them 3-legged. The answer was as simple as it was profound. The Sphinx, having been defeated by the hero's intellect, could not bear the shame of her failure. In a fit of rage and despair, she cast herself from the mountain, ending her reign of terror. With her death, the curse on Thebes was lifted, and the people rejoiced. The hero, now the savior of the city, was rewarded with the throne and the hand of the widow of Laius, fulfilling the prophecy and bringing peace to Thebes. The Sphinx's death was not only the end of a monster, but also a moment of divine justice. Her challenge had tested the limits of human understanding, but the hero's triumph over her was a testament to the power of wisdom and the belief that knowledge could overcome even the most insurmountable of obstacles. The Sphinx's riddle, which had claimed so many lives, was finally solved, and her death symbolized the victory of reason over brute force. The people of Thebes would forever remember the hero who had saved them, and his victory would become a symbol of the strength that lies in intellect and understanding. In the aftermath of the Sphinx's defeat, her legacy would continue to haunt Thebes. She was a creature of duality, both a symbol of danger and mystery, and a reminder of the unknowns that could not be easily understood. Artists and sculptors, inspired by her form and her legend, began to depict the Sphinx in various ways. Some showed her as a winged creature, embodying both the grace and terror that she had brought to Thebes. Others captured her in stone and paintings, often placed on tombs as guardians against the unknown, or as a symbol of the inevitable death that awaits us all. The Sphinx, with her combination of human and animal traits, became an enduring image in art and culture, a reminder of both beauty and destruction. While her form in Greek mythology was fearsome and deadly, the Sphinx's presence in art and literature took on different meanings. She was a figure of mystery and challenge, a creature that embodied the unpredictable nature of life. Her defeat, however, marked the triumph of human intellect and the power of reason. The Sphinx's challenge, which had once seemed insurmountable, was overcome by wisdom, and this theme would resonate throughout Greek mythology, where the gods often tested mortals with challenges that required more than physical strength to conquer. The Sphinx, in the end, was a test of knowledge, a reminder that the key to overcoming the greatest dangers lay not in brute force, but in understanding and insight. In addition to her terrifying nature, the Sphinx was also a symbol of the ancient belief that monsters and creatures of the unknown were not always evil by nature. Some myths suggest that she had been sent to Thebes as a punishment for the actions of King Laius, who had committed a crime against the gods by abducting and violating the son of another king. The gods angered by Laius's actions, sent the Sphinx to plague the city, and her riddle was a form of divine retribution. In this way, the Sphinx's challenge was not just a test for the people of Thebes, but also a divine judgment, and the hero who solved the riddle was not just a conqueror of a monster, but a hero who restored balance to the divine order. The Sphinx's role in the myth of Thebes also highlighted the role of fate in Greek mythology. The riddle she posed was not just a puzzle, but a part of a larger divine plan, and the hero's solution to it was part of the destiny that had been laid out for him. The Sphinx, in her defeat, represented the forces of fate that could be challenged and overcome, but not without the intervention of a wisdom and courage. The hero's victory was a testament to the idea that even in the face of overwhelming odds, fate could be shaped by the actions of those brave enough to face the unknown. Even as the Sphinx's terror was brought to an end, her story continued to echo through the ages. She was remembered not just as a monster, but as a symbol of the mysteries of life and death, a creature whose riddle had once stumped the greatest minds, but was ultimately solved by one who dared to challenge the unknown. The Sphinx's image with her lion's body, human face and wings became a permanent fixture in the myths of ancient Greece, a reminder of the complex interplay between knowledge, power, and fate. Her legacy would live on, both as a creature of fear and a symbol of wisdom, forever etched into the stories of the gods and heroes of Greece. The Sphinx, a monstrous creature born from the chaos of Typhon and Echidna, was sent to plague the city of Thebes. With her terrifying form, a lion's body, the wings of a bird, and the face of a woman, she became both a symbol of dread and a force of divine punishment. She had been sent to the city by the gods with the task of tormenting its people. The Sphinx posed a riddle to anyone who wished to enter Thebes, promising them safety and the kingdom's riches if they could solve it. But if they failed, they would meet a gruesome end, torn apart by the creature's deadly claws. Many brave souls came to try their luck, drawn by the promise of power. But all who attempted to answer the riddle were devoured by the Sphinx, their fates sealed by their inability to solve her puzzle. For years the city suffered under her reign, with no hero able to match her intellect. The Sphinx's riddle was deceptively simple. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Many had tried and failed, unable to decipher its meaning. As the years passed, the land of Thebes was plagued by droughts and famine, and the people grew desperate. The Sphinx's challenge was not just a test of intellect, but of survival. The kingdom was cursed, and the only way to lift the curse was to solve the riddle. In the midst of this despair, the king of Thebes, Creon, promised his kingdom and the hand of his sister to the man who could finally defeat the Sphinx. Among those who heard the call for help was a stranger, a man not yet known to the city, but destined to change its fate. This hero, determined and brave, approached the Sphinx and faced her riddle without fear. He asked her to repeat the question, and as the Sphinx posed it once more, he answered with confidence, declaring that the answer to the riddle was man. A man, he explained, crawls on all 4s as a baby, walks on 2 legs as an adult, and uses a cane in old age, walking on 3 legs. The Sphinx, unable to accept defeat, reacted in fury. She had never before encountered anyone who could solve her riddle, and her anger led her to leap from the heights, throwing herself off the mountain to her death. With her death, the curse on Thebes was lifted, and the city was freed from the terror that had plagued it for so long. The hero who solved the riddle, having saved the city, was rewarded with the throne of Thebes and the hand of the queen. The people of Thebes rejoiced, for their deliverance had come at last. But while the Sphinx's death marked the end of her reign of terror, it was only the beginning of the hero's journey. Though he had solved the riddle and saved the city, his story was far from over. The hero's actions, though celebrated, would soon lead to a series of events that would ultimately unravel the truth about his origins and the curse that lay upon his family. In the aftermath of the Sphinx's death, the hero became the ruler of Thebes, but the city's troubles were far from over. The land, still suffering from the curse that had been laid upon it, remained plagued by droughts and pestilence. Despite having freed the city from the Sphinx, the hero's victory seemed hollow in the face of the ongoing suffering. The hero, determined to find the source of the curse, set out on a quest to rid the land of the blight that had befallen it. He sought the council of oracles, and it was there that he learned of the darker truths surrounding his own family and his role in the events that had led to the suffering of Thebes. The Sphinx, in her final moments, had been a figure of both terror and fate. Her riddle was not just a challenge, but a manifestation of the mysteries that lay hidden in the world. To solve it was to unlock the understanding of life's cycles, the constant change from birth to death. The hero's answer, simple yet profound, had shattered the Sphinx's hold on the city and had shown that wisdom, rather than strength, was the key to overcoming even the most terrifying challenges. Yet, the hero's victory was not without consequence, for his triumph over the Sphinx had set in motion a chain of events that would lead to the revelation of his own dark fate. Though the hero's actions had saved Thebes, they had also sealed his destiny. The Sphinx's riddle was a test of intellect, but it was also a test of fate. The answer to her question was not just a reflection of the hero's wisdom, but also of the cycle of life itself. The Sphinx, in her role as a divine tormentor, had played her part in the unfolding of the hero's story. Her challenge had been a necessary step on the path to the hero's ultimate discovery of his own identity and the truth of his family's curse. The hero, having faced the Sphinx and solved her riddle, would soon learn that no victory, no matter how great, comes without its price. As the hero's journey continued, the Sphinx's legacy lingered in the shadows of Thebes. She had been a creature of divine power, sent by the gods to test the city's worth, and her death marked the end of one chapter of Thebes' history. But her riddle, her challenge, and her death would echo through the ages, a reminder of the mysteries of life, the trials of fate, and the consequences of the choices we make. The hero, having freed the city from the Sphinx's grasp, would soon find that the greatest challenges were yet to come, and the truth of his own past would become the key to understanding the curse that still lay upon Thebes. The Sphinx's image, with her lion's body, human face, and wings, became a symbol of the power of the unknown, of the mysteries that could be solved only by the brave and wise. She was both a figure of fear and a test of intellect, a reminder that even the greatest challenges could be overcome through understanding and insight. Her death marked the end of an era for Thebes, but the lessons of her riddle would remain, shaping the fate of the hero and the city for generations to come. The Sphinx, a terrifying and magnificent creature, terrorized Thebes for many years. She was a beast born of Typhon and Echidna, monstrous and cunning, possessing the body of a lion, the wings of a bird, and the head of a woman. Her arrival in Thebes was no accident. The gods had sent her as punishment, and she was set to plague the city with her dreadful riddle. The Sphinx would sit perched on a rock near the city gates, daring anyone to approach her. Those who tried to enter Thebes had to face her riddle, and failure meant death. The creature's wings spread wide, and her sharp claws and teeth glistened with the promise of destruction. She would feast on anyone who failed to answer, making sure her victims suffered before they were devoured. The riddle she asked was deceptively simple, yet impossible for most to solve. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Many tried to solve it, but none could. As time passed, the city of Thebes grew desperate. The Sphinx's challenge had not only cost many lives, but had also placed the entire city under a curse. The people, stricken by famine and suffering, were in turmoil. Yet the Sphinx's riddle was not just a matter of intellect, it was a test of survival. Those who failed were swiftly punished, and the city seemed trapped in an endless cycle of hopelessness. King Creon, desperate to lift the curse, promised that whoever could answer the Sphinx's riddle would not only be rewarded with the throne of Thebes, but also the hand of the queen, Jocasta, the widow of the former king. Yet, despite the tempting reward, no one had succeeded. The people were living in constant fear, and hope seemed like a distant memory. Among those who heard the challenge was a stranger, a hero who had not yet been known to the people of Thebes. This hero, brave and clever, made his way to the gates of the city where the Sphinx sat. Unlike the others who had failed, this hero approached the Sphinx without fear, ready to solve the riddle and free the city. The Sphinx, confident in her challenge, posed the riddle once more, expecting the hero to fail as all others had. But the hero, armed with wisdom and insight, immediately answered, declaring that the answer was man. As an infant, a person crawls on all 4s. As an adult, they walk on 2 legs, and in old age, they use a cane, walking on 3 legs. The Sphinx, stunned by the correct answer, could not bear the shame of her defeat. In a fit of despair and rage, she threw herself from the cliffs, ending her reign of terror. With the Sphinx's death, Thebes was freed from her curse. The hero who had solved the riddle was hailed as a savior, and he was rewarded with the throne and the hand of Jocasta, the queen. The city rejoiced, and for a time it seemed that the hero's wisdom had brought an end to the darkness that had gripped Thebes for so long. Yet the victory over the Sphinx was only the beginning of a far darker tale. Though the hero had freed the city, the true cost of his actions would not be revealed for many years to come. His victory, while celebrated, was laced with the shadow of fate, and soon he would discover that his path was one that would lead to tragedy. The Sphinx's death marked the end of a chapter for Thebes, but her legacy would live on, both in the hearts of the people who remembered her terror and in the art and myths that would preserve her image for generations to come. She was a creature of duality, both beautiful and terrifying, intelligent and deadly. The Sphinx was a symbol of the mysteries of life and death, a figure who tested the very limits of human understanding. In the aftermath of her defeat, her riddle remained a timeless symbol of the complexity of existence, and her image, with her lion's body and human face, continued to haunt the people of Thebes long after her fall. In Greek art and literature, the Sphinx was often depicted as a winged creature, embodying both beauty and danger. Sculptures of the Sphinx were placed on tombs as guardians against the unknown, her form a reminder of both the fragility of life and the inevitable fate that awaited all mortals. The Sphinx's image was also used in architecture, where she served as a symbol of protection, guarding sacred spaces and important places. Her form, with her wings spread wide, represented the mystery of the universe, both vast and unknowable, yet containing within it the potential for wisdom and understanding. Her defeat by the hero symbolized the victory of knowledge over fear, of understanding over ignorance. Yet the Sphinx's story was not just a story of terror, it was also a story of fate and divine will. The Sphinx had been sent to Thebes as punishment, and her riddle was a test, not just of intellect, but of destiny. The answer to her question, simple as it seemed, had been known for all of time. It was the cycle of life itself. The hero, with his cleverness and insight, had revealed that the riddle was not about monsters or magic, but about humanity itself, the passage from birth to death. In doing so, he had unlocked the key to defeating the Sphinx and freeing the city. But the answer also marked a turning point in the hero's own life, a moment that would set in motion a chain of events that would lead to his tragic downfall. The Sphinx's riddle, while solved, had opened the door to a greater mystery, the hero's true identity and the curse that had been placed upon his family. Though the Sphinx had been defeated, the true consequences of the hero's actions were far from over. His victory, which seemed so pure at first, would soon be tainted by the revelation of his fate. The hero's triumph over the Sphinx was both a blessing and a curse, a reminder that no victory is without its price, and that even the greatest challenges come with consequences. As time passed, the memory of the Sphinx remained. She had been both a source of fear and a catalyst for change, and her defeat by the hero was a moment of both liberation and tragedy. The hero had saved Thebes, but in doing so, he had unwittingly set the stage for his own downfall. The Sphinx, in her final act, had not only tested the people of Thebes, but had also played a part in the hero's destiny, ensuring that his story would be forever intertwined with her legacy. Her image, with her wings and her riddle, would continue to haunt the city and its people, a symbol of the mysteries that life and fate hold, and of the price that must be paid for solving them. In the ancient world, the Griffin, a mythical creature with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, was seen as a guardian of treasures and a symbol of power. The Griffin's presence in ancient myths and art reflects its importance in many cultures, especially in Greece. Known for its fierce protection of sacred places and valuable resources, the Griffin was said to dwell in the distant lands of the north, where the most precious gold could be found. These creatures were believed to guard the gold of the Arimaspians, a one-eyed people who were constantly at war with their neighbors, trying to steal the treasure from the Griffins. The Griffin's role in these tales was not just that of a protector, but also a fierce adversary, a creature of both beauty and danger, whose strength and cunning were unmatched. The Griffins were portrayed as fierce, vigilant guardians who would not allow anyone to take what was theirs, standing guard over the mountains where the gold lay hidden. The Griffins' association with gold and treasure is well known, and their presence in ancient artwork and literature highlights their role as symbols of wealth and protection. Greek artists frequently depicted griffins in pottery, especially in scenes that involved mythical battles or the guarding of treasure. Their powerful image made them ideal symbols for those seeking to represent strength and vigilance, and they were often placed on shields and other protective objects. Their depiction on shields, as seen in the work of Herodotus, symbolizes the creature's role in safeguarding wealth and resources, especially in the farthest reaches of the world, where gold and riches were said to be most abundant. According to Herodotus, the Griffins were located near the Hyperboreans, in the far northern lands where the gold was hidden. These lands were believed to be inhabited by the Arimaspians, one-eyed people who fought tirelessly to steal the precious gold from the Griffins. The tales of these creatures and their guardianship of treasure were passed down through various cultures, with the Scythians telling stories of the Arimaspians and Griffins in their battles for wealth. In the tales, the Griffins were not merely passive guardians, They were active protectors, battling the Arimaspians whenever they tried to claim the gold that the Griffins so fiercely guarded. These stories of Griffins and Arimaspians captivated the imaginations of the ancient world. They represented the idea of an untouchable, unreachable treasure that was fiercely protected by powerful and mythical creatures. The imagery of the griffin, with the body of a lion symbolizing strength and the wings of an eagle representing the ability to soar high and protect from above, made it the perfect guardian for such a valuable resource. The griffins were said to strike with the same power as the wind, sweeping down to protect their treasure whenever it was threatened. The tales of these creatures inspired artists and poets, who incorporated them into their works, often depicting griffins in scenes of battle, their mighty wings spread wide and their eyes full of determination. In addition to their role in protecting gold, the griffins were also seen as symbols of divine power. In ancient Greek mythology, they were often associated with the gods, especially with Apollo and Zeus. The gods were often depicted as riding griffins or having griffins serve as their messengers or companions. The griffin, as a creature that bridged the earth and the sky, was an appropriate symbol for the gods, who were said to rule both realms. The griffin's association with the divine was reinforced in many Greek myths, where it was described as being favored by the gods for its strength and loyalty. The griffin's role in guarding treasure and serving the gods extended beyond Greek mythology. In Egyptian mythology, similar creatures were used to represent protection and strength. The griffin's image was adopted by various cultures over time, becoming a common symbol of power and defense. Their importance in ancient art and literature cannot be overstated, as they were often used to represent not only strength and guardianship, but also the mysteries and dangers of distant, unexplored lands. The griffin's role in guarding gold and other treasures made them central figures in the stories of far-off places, where riches and dangers were equally abundant. In Greek art, the griffin was often depicted in scenes of battle or in the act of guarding something precious. The image of a griffin standing watch over gold or other valuable treasures was a common motif, representing the idea that some treasures were so important that only the most powerful creatures could be entrusted with their protection. The griffin's image also appeared in the decoration of many ancient buildings, including temples and palaces. It was common to see griffins carved into the stone walls of these structures, their presence symbolizing the protection of the gods and the sacredness of the place. The griffin's connection to gold and their role as guardians was also reflected in the way they were portrayed in ancient stories. In one tale, the griffins were said to be guarding gold in the distant land of the Arimaspians. The Arimaspians, who were known for their one eye, were said to be constantly trying to steal the gold from the griffins. These stories depicted the griffins as fierce and unyielding, willing to fight to the death to protect the gold. The griffins' role as protectors of treasure made them symbols of loyalty and strength, qualities that were highly valued in the ancient world. In later times, the griffin became a popular figure in medieval bestiaries and heraldry. Its image was used in coats of arms and shields, symbolizing strength, courage, and protection. The griffin's role as a guardian of treasure and a creature of divine power made it a fitting symbol for the knights and rulers of medieval Europe. The griffin's presence in these later cultures was a testament to its lasting influence and importance as a symbol of power and protection. Throughout the ages, the griffin has remained a symbol of strength, protection, and mystery. Its image, with the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle, continues to captivate and inspire those who encounter it. Whether guarding treasure in the far reaches of the world or serving as a companion to the gods. The griffin remains one of the most iconic and enduring creatures in mythology, a symbol of the eternal struggle to protect what is most precious. The griffin's legacy in art, literature, and culture continues to resonate, reminding us of the power and majesty of this mythical creature. In the ancient world, the griffin was a creature of immense power and mystery, often depicted as a lion with the head and wings of an eagle. This mythical being was said to live in distant lands, far from civilization, guarding treasures that were both sacred and precious. The griffin's most notable role was as the protector of gold. According to ancient sources, these magnificent creatures guarded the mountains of the north, where vast amounts of gold were said to be hidden. The Arimaspians, a one-eyed tribe, were said to be constantly at war with the griffins, attempting to steal the gold they guarded. These one-eyed men were fierce and relentless, but the griffins, with their lion-like strength and eagle-like agility, were unmatched in their ability to protect the treasures of the earth. The legends surrounding the griffins and their battles with the Arimaspians became some of the most enduring stories of the ancient world, symbolizing the eternal struggle between those who sought to steal and those who fought to protect. The griffin's association with treasure and power was not confined to myth alone. It was also deeply ingrained in the art and architecture of ancient cultures. In the Greek world, the griffin was often depicted as a guardian of sacred places and treasures. One such example is the famous bronze vessel created by the Samians, which featured griffin heads around its rim. This vessel, which was placed in the Temple of Hera, was a symbol of both the protective power of the griffin and the wealth and reverence associated with the goddess. The griffin's image was also frequently seen in Greek pottery, often painted on vases and kylixes. These artistic representations captured the griffin in various poses, emphasizing its strength, nobility, and role as a divine protector. The griffin was also mentioned in the works of ancient historians and geographers, who recorded the creature's association with gold in distant lands. Herodotus, the famous Greek historian, wrote about the griffins guarding gold in the far northern regions of Europe, in a place beyond the lands of the one-eyed Arimaspians. According to Herodotus, these griffins were not just guardians of treasure. They were also fierce opponents of the Arimaspians, who were constantly attempting to steal the gold from their mountain homes. The griffins' role as protectors was a central theme in these accounts, and their presence in these distant lands was tied to the idea of rare, untouchable riches that were fiercely guarded by these mythical creatures. In addition to the stories of gold, the griffins were also associated with the divine and the sacred. In one account, the griffins were said to have been depicted in a painting of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, where they were shown lifting her into the sky. This connection between the griffin and the gods reflected the creature's divine status, as it was often depicted as a guardian of both treasures and sacred spaces. The griffin's association with the divine was further emphasized by its depiction in temples and shrines, where it was often shown in a protective stance, guarding the entrances to sacred places. Its presence in these settings reinforced the idea that the griffin was not only a protector of gold, but also a symbol of divine power and protection. The griffin's role as a protector extended beyond just the physical realm. In the stories surrounding these creatures, they were often depicted as guardians of wisdom, knowledge, and the divine. The idea that the griffins guarded the gold of the earth was symbolic of their larger role in safeguarding the mysteries of the world. Their strength, intelligence, and fierce protection of the treasures they guarded made them ideal symbols of the divine order, embodying the idea that the sacred and the valuable were not easily obtained and required great effort and sacrifice to be protected. The griffin's physical appearance was a reflection of its dual nature. With the body of a lion, the creature symbolized strength, courage, and ferocity, while its eagle head and wings represented vision, intelligence, and the ability to soar above the earth. This combination of attributes made the griffin a powerful and awe-inspiring creature, one that could both protect and fight with equal skill. The griffin's wings, which allowed it to soar high above the earth, were a key part of its symbolism, representing the connection between the earth and the heavens, and the ability to transcend the mortal realm and enter the divine. The griffin's role in ancient mythology was not limited to its association with gold. These creatures were also seen as symbols of the natural world, embodying the untamed power of the wilderness and the forces of nature. The griffin's strength and agility made it an ideal symbol of the wild, untamable forces that lay beyond human control. In some myths, the griffins were even said to control the elements, with their wings stirring the winds and their roars shaking the earth. This connection to the natural world further enhanced the griffin's status as a symbol of power, protection, and divine will. In the later periods, the griffin's image continued to evolve. In medieval bestiaries and heraldry, the griffin became a popular symbol of nobility, strength, and protection. Its image appeared on coats of arms, shields, and banners, where it was used to represent the power and authority of the families who bore its symbol. The griffin's association with divine protection also made it a popular figure in Christian symbolism, where it was sometimes used to represent Christ's dual nature as both divine and human. Over time, the griffin became a symbol not just of physical power, but of spiritual strength and divine protection. In the world of ancient myth, the griffin's role as a protector, warrior, and symbol of divine power remained a constant. Whether guarding the riches of the earth or standing watch over sacred places, the griffin was a creature of great significance, its image enduring through the centuries as a symbol of strength, wisdom, and protection. The griffin's legacy as one of the most awe-inspiring and powerful creatures in mythology continues to resonate, reminding us of the mysteries of the natural world and the divine forces that shape our lives. In the distant lands of the north, beyond the known world, there lived a creature of great power and mystery, the griffin. This majestic beast, with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, was said to guard the gold that lay hidden within the earth. These griffins, fierce and untamable, were believed to live in the rugged mountains of India and the surrounding regions, where the landscape was harsh and unforgiving. The griffin's nest was said to be built of gold, which they dug from the earth using the strength of their powerful beaks. The stories told of these creatures were filled with both awe and fear, for while they were revered for their strength and majesty, they were also feared for their ferocity in protecting what was theirs. The gold, scattered in the rocks and dirt, was highly sought after by the people of the region, especially the Indians, who believed the griffins had no use for the gold themselves. Instead, the griffins were said to guard it fiercely, attacking any who attempted to take it. The Indians, however, had their own version of the story. They claimed that while the griffins did indeed guard the gold, they had no need for it and would only fight to protect their young. The Indians would come at night under the cover of darkness to avoid the griffin's keen eyesight and terrifying strength. They would dig for the gold in the moonless night, armed with tools and sacks, hoping to gather as much as they could before the griffins returned. The quest for gold was not an easy one. The griffins, in their determination to protect their young, would fight off any invaders, using their sharp talons and beaks to strike with deadly precision. They were said to easily defeat other beasts that came to steal their treasure, but the lions and elephants that roamed the land were too strong for even the griffins to face. Because of this, the Indians would wait until the griffins were distracted or away before venturing into the wilderness to collect their prize. The process of collecting the gold was perilous. Thousands of men would travel into the wilderness, each seeking a piece of the treasure that was said to be hidden among the rocky hills. The land was barren and desolate, with little to offer except the gold that lay beneath the surface. Those who dared to search for it were well aware of the dangers, but the rewards were great. If they could evade the griffins and gather enough gold, they would return to their homes after several years, immensely wealthy and revered for their bravery. The gold, once collected, would be refined by skilled artisans who knew the art of smelting. They would turn the raw gold into fine, pure metal, and when it was sold or used, it would bring riches beyond measure. The danger and hardship of the quest were rewarded with immense wealth, and the men who returned from these expeditions were seen as legends, heroes who had faced the terrifying griffins and emerged victorious. The griffins' role as guardians of gold was not just a part of their mythology, but a symbol of their strength and dominance over the land. Their physical appearance alone was enough to strike fear into the hearts of those who came across them. Their lion-like bodies gave them the strength to fight and defend their nests, while their eagle heads and wings made them formidable opponents in the sky. Despite their ability to fly, however, the griffins were not like birds that soared freely through the air. Their wings were not built for long-distance flight, but rather for short, powerful bursts of movement. Their feet, equipped with red webbed membranes, allowed them to flap and control their flight, making them highly agile when hunting or defending their territory. The griffins' ability to fly and fight made them nearly unstoppable in their domain. The griffins were also revered in Indian culture, where they were seen as sacred to Helios, the sun god. The people of India believed that the griffins had a special connection to the sun, and they often depicted them in art as the powerful creatures that drew the chariot of the sun across the sky. The griffins, with their strength and majestic wings, were the perfect symbols of the power of the sun, embodying both its light and its fierceness. The griffin's image, often depicted in sculpture and pottery, became a symbol of divine protection and strength, and they were believed to have the ability to drive away evil and protect the land from harm. Despite their sacred status, the griffins were not invincible. The tiger, a creature as swift as the wind, was said to be beyond their ability to defeat. The tiger, with its speed and agility, could evade the griffin's powerful attacks, making it a rare opponent that the griffins could not face. The struggle between the griffins and the other creatures of the land reflected the balance of power in the natural world, where each species had its own strengths and weaknesses. The griffins, with their majestic wings and fearsome claws, were the dominant force in their territory, but even they had limitations. They were not unbeatable, but they were a force to be reckoned with. The griffin's role in protecting gold and serving as a symbol of power and strength was reinforced in many ancient cultures, from the Greeks to the Indians. Their image appeared in art, literature, and mythology, and they became symbols of divine guardianship and protection. In Greek mythology, the griffin was often associated with the gods, particularly with Apollo and Zeus, and their image was used to represent the gods' power and might. The griffins were believed to be the gods' protectors, standing watch over sacred places and treasures, ensuring that only the worthy could access the wealth of the earth. The Griffin's legacy continued to inspire awe and reverence in later cultures. In medieval Europe, the Griffin became a symbol of nobility and strength, often appearing on coats of arms and shields. Their image was used to represent the virtues of courage, honor, and protection, qualities that were highly valued in the medieval world. The Griffin's legacy as a guardian of treasure and a symbol of divine strength endured through the centuries, and its image continued to be used in heraldry and art. In the end, the Griffin's role as a protector of treasure and a symbol of divine power remained a central part of its mythology. The tales of these creatures, with their strength, agility, and fierce protection of their nests, continue to capture the imagination of those who hear them. Whether guarding gold in distant lands or serving as sacred creatures of the gods, the Griffins remain one of the most iconic and enduring creatures in ancient mythology. Their legacy as symbols of strength, protection, and power continues to resonate, reminding us of the timeless struggle between those who seek to steal and those who fight to protect. In the vast, untamed lands beyond the reach of most men, there existed creatures both fierce and majestic, the Gripes, also known as Griffins. These creatures were a blend of lion and eagle, with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, making them both fierce predators and powerful protectors. The Gripes were said to dwell in the remote regions of the world, particularly in the lands of the Indians and Ethiopians, where they guarded the richest treasures known to humankind, gold. These creatures, with their keen eyesight and razor-sharp talons, were the perfect guardians for such wealth, protecting it fiercely from any who dared to steal it. The Gripes were not only guardians of gold, but were also deeply intertwined with the legends and myths of the ancient world, often found in the tales of poets and historians alike. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus, in his famous accounts, spoke of the Gripes' role in guarding gold. According to him, the creatures lived in the northern lands, near the frozen edges of the earth, where the cold winds of the north howled, and the mountains were rich with gold. The Gripes would dig this gold from the earth using the strength of their powerful beaks and claws, their nests constructed from the precious metal they guarded so fiercely. Yet they were not the only ones drawn to these riches. The Arimaspians, a mysterious and fierce tribe of one-eyed men, also sought the gold of the Gripes, and thus a great war raged between the creatures and the Arimaspians. The Arimaspians, mounted on horseback, would attempt to steal the gold guarded by the Gripes, but the mighty creatures, with their wings spread wide, would fight back, using their incredible strength and speed to protect what was theirs. These fierce battles between the Gripes and the Arimaspians became legendary, with the Gripes being seen as symbols of both strength and protection, while the Arimaspians were portrayed as relentless and determined adversaries. The stories of their encounters, told by poets like Aristeas of Proconnesus, were passed down through the generations. The Gripes were not just mythological creatures, but symbols of the wild, untamed nature of the world, representing the mysteries and dangers that lay hidden in the farthest reaches of the earth. They were more than just beasts. They were a representation of the power of the natural world and the protective forces that guarded its treasures. In these stories, the Gripes' role as guardians of gold was inseparable from their role as symbols of the earth's deep, hidden riches. Riches that were both beautiful and dangerous, just like the creatures that protected them. The myths of the Gripes did not end with their battles against the Arimaspians. The creatures were also believed to have a connection to the divine. In some tales, the Gripes were said to serve as sacred animals, directly linked to the gods themselves. They were often associated with the sun god, Helios, and in Indian mythology, the Gripes were revered as sacred creatures who helped carry the sun across the sky. In these stories, the Gripes were not just guardians of treasure, but also important divine beings, playing an essential role in the cosmic order. The image of the Gripes pulling the chariot of the sun became a common motif in ancient art and literature, reinforcing their association with both strength and divinity. The power of the Gripes was seen not only in their physical form, but also in their ability to traverse the heavens, representing the connection between the earth and the divine realm above. In other stories, the Gripes were depicted as birds of vengeance, flying alongside goddesses like Nemesis, the goddess of retribution. These birds, swift and fierce, would accompany the goddess on her travels across the world, ensuring that justice was served wherever it was needed. The Gripes, with their powerful wings and sharp talons, were seen as instruments of divine wrath, capable of bringing swift justice to those who had wronged others. The image of the Gripes flying alongside Nemesis reinforced their role as agents of divine power, embodying both the destructive and protective aspects of the natural world. In these stories, the Gripes were more than just protectors of gold. They were powerful creatures, revered by the gods and feared by mortals, capable of wielding divine retribution. Despite their fearsome reputation, the Gripes were not invincible. In many of the myths, the Gripes faced challenges that tested their strength and endurance. The most famous of these challenges came in the form of the one-eyed Arimaspians, whose relentless pursuit of gold led them to constantly battle the Gripes for control of the treasure. The Arimaspians, though fierce and cunning, were no match for the Gripes in battle, and the creatures often defeated them with ease. However, in some stories, the Gripes were said to struggle with other animals, such as lions and elephants, whose strength and size posed a significant challenge to the Griffin's abilities. Despite these challenges, the Gripes were ultimately triumphant in their role as guardians, their strength and determination making them nearly unbeatable in the defense of their gold. The Gripes' image became synonymous with power, protection, and divine strength, and their stories continued to inspire awe and admiration in the ancient world. In the artwork of the Greeks, the Gripes were often depicted as majestic and terrifying creatures, their wings spread wide and their claws ready to strike. These depictions emphasized the creature's role as a protector, a being capable of both beauty and danger. The Gripes were symbols of the untamed forces of nature, guardians of the earth's most precious treasures, and powerful creatures that stood between mortals and the riches they sought. The stories of the Gripes and their battles with the Arimaspians became legendary, their image enduring through the ages as a symbol of strength, power, and the protective forces of the natural world. As the Gripes' image continued to appear in art and literature, their role as protectors of gold and sacred treasures remained central to their mythology. They were creatures that not only represented the power of nature, but also served as guardians of the divine, their wings carrying them between the heavens and the earth, protecting the treasures of both the gods and the mortals. The Gripes, with their lion strength and eagle's wings, were among the most revered creatures in ancient myth, embodying the dual forces of destruction and protection that shaped the world. Their legacy, as both divine protectors and fierce warriors, continues to inspire stories of strength and power, reminding us of the untamed forces that shape our world.